Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the annual SILC meeting. I hope everyone is staying cool and stay hydrated. Let's begin with Dawn Unlimited hosted.
Everything is yes, everything is posted.
Can you do roll call, please?
Sure. Oh, give me 1 second. I forgot to pull that one up. Julie Weissman-Steinbach.
Present.
Evander Davis has said he will be a little bit late today. Ace Patrick.
Present.
Sabra McWhorter-Clark.
Present.
Vicky Esner. Dee Dee Formaster.
Dawn, she said she'd be a little bit late.
I think she just joined us, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, she doesn't look like her sound is set up yet, but she's joining us. Linda Voivoda. I don't see her. Peter Whittingham.
Present.
Mary Evilsizer.
Present.
Obioma Officer.
Present.
Jennifer Kane is excused. She had to be elsewhere. Cheyenne Pasquale. I know she said she may or may not be able to join us today. Doesn't look like she's here. That's it. We do have quorum.
Okay.
All that.
Can I ask everybody?
Okay. You can just write it and check it too on July.
Dee Dee, it looks like your sound is working now, and if you could just mute yourself, we can hear background noise.
Thank you. Dawn, can you read the move for the public comment?
I sure will. This is Dawn Lyons. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under public comment, period, unless the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an action item. To provide public comment telephonically, dial 1-253-215-8782 US Tacoma. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 929-904-1434 and passcode 707401. Comments will be allowed at the beginning and end of each day and will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Persons making comments will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name and provide the secretary with written comments.
Are there any public comments? I can't see it, so I need to call up people.
Looks like we have the Governor's Council on Developmental Disabilities with their hand raised.
I apologize. That's me, Catherine Nielsen. So, sorry, Catherine Nielsen for the record. I just wanted to make a point that the bylaws that are listed on Aging and Disability Services website for the Statewide Independent Living Council differ from the bylaws that are listed on the Statewide Independent Living Council's website. So I don't know which one is accurate or most up to date, but I wanted to just make point of that so that you could get it updated.
This is Dawn Lyons. Catherine, just to clarify, the bylaws that are posted on Aging and Disabilities website are different from the ones on SILC website?
Correct.
Okay, I'll have to check into that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Julie Obioma has her hand up.
I'll be honest.
Hello, this is Obioma officer for the record. I wanted to make a comment about next week, July 15th through the 18th. We will be hosting here in Las Vegas 2024 Disability Conference. And it is an inclusive disability included conference, and that is next week. So there will be many people from the deaf community, the disabled community, who will be coming here to the state. And they will be coming from other states. So this will be a good time to network and socialize with them if you go. Please try and engage the deaf and hard of hearing community there as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comments?
I do not see any of their hands up at this time.
Okay. And next, we're on item 3, approval of minutes from June 12th, 2024. Do I hear a motion?
This is Dawn Lyons. May I just make a comment?
Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank Carol for getting those draft minutes done so quickly since our meeting was such a short time ago. Thank you, Carol, for doing that for us. And the other thing I wanted to say was I made some comments about some edits that I would like to see happen. I don't know if anyone else really had the chance to go through the minutes because I did post them yesterday as a meeting material. So if you would like me to pull them up right now so we can scroll through them and you can point anything out, I will. Otherwise, we can entertain a motion if you have.
This is Ace. Yeah, Don, could you please let us know what those changes were? I would appreciate it.
Sure, let me go ahead and pull those up then. I'm not going to share my screen unless you want me to. It didn't sound like it sounded like you just wanted me to go ahead and go through the changes that I suggested. So
Yeah, this is Ace. That's fine for me.
okay, so during the member introductions and when we were describing who was applying for second terms, there was an Andrew Davis listed, and I think Carol meant Evander Davis, but he was also listed below that. So I just suggested to cross off and remove the Andrew Davis. That was one change. The next change as we scroll down was under agenda number 5 for the spill approval. There was in compliance with section 2725, and I suggested to change that to section 725. That's section 725, probably just a typo. And then under that, the discussion also included inviting John Rose to provide suggestions, and I just suggested to change his last name to Rosenland. And then after that, I think this is a weird like autocorrect thing that happened because I'm sure Carol did not mean to put add SD for ADSD. So I just suggested to change the add.sd to ADSD. And then under that, it says it was agreed to add a reference to the Deputy Attorney General in their conflict resolution process. And I suggested that it was agreed to add a reference to the Deputy Attorney General as well as ACL in their conflict resolution process because we agreed to include both. And then under that, it said, finally, the team confirmed their adherence to both state and federal laws and policies. And I stated this was not agreed to, only state and federal laws. was agreed to, not the policy part. A little farther down, there were a few sections where it was referencing the Southern CIL and it said CIO. So I just changed all the CIOs in there to CILs instead, because I think that's what she meant. And that's what we were talking about. So under that, lastly, a perceived personal attack from a member of the Self-Advocacy and Leadership Coalition, or SILC, was addressed. I suggested to change that to Statewide Independent Living Council. And then Mary Evil Sizer motion to approve this bill per the recommendations as discussed per fiscal year 25-27 for submission to ACL upon completion. I think she meant 25 through 27. So that's what I suggested be written. And then I think that was it. Yep, that was it. Those were all the changes I suggested. And they're really just basically typos.
This is Ace. Thank you for doing that, Dawn. So I don't have anything else myself, but I don't know if Mary usually goes through it with a fine-tooth comb too. So, but thank you for reading those out.
Usually I go through those and then the updates are made based on my suggestions, and then the draft is posted for any of the suggestions you guys want to make. But like I said, I just posted it yesterday, and it's because Carol really didn't have a whole lot of time to get those draft minutes done. So we really appreciate that you did that, Carol.
Excuse me, Dawn, for the record, this is Mary Sizer, and excuse me, Madam Chair, but Dawn, I did not get a chance to read them, but I do usually, like I said, go through them with a fine tooth comb, not because we find anything wrong, but the AI and autocorrect sometimes says some interesting things. I don't know if because they came out so late, however, you and Julie feel you want to work it, but I don't know how many people really got a chance to read them. And if you wanted to postpone them to the next time, we'd all be happy to look at them. But it's your choice, your schedule and your time. Thank you.
If this is Dawn Lyons, thanks, Mary. I actually was
Can I-
thinking that it is totally fine if we want to push it to our next meeting so that you guys have better time to review that.
Dawn, this is Peter,
Yeah.
for the record. Can you refresh? I don't know if this is a good time to do so, but can you refresh me as to why we would have agreed with the law and not the policy on that matter that you recommended changes?
So it doesn't specify in the minutes, but as I recall our conversation, we discussed the fact that that ACL or Erica McFadden from ACL had informed the SILC executive team that if we had our own policies, that we would follow our own policies, but where we didn't have a policy established, we would follow the DSE policy. So we can't just have a blanket statement saying we will follow DSE policy all the time, because if we have our own policy, we are autonomous. Does that jog your memory at all?
I must confess, no, and this may be a good time for the record to inform the audience that I am mobile as I speak, and sometimes cell interference might have interfere with reception. But I wondered, I don't remember the conversation, but I will default to your recollection as to the record.
Yeah, I actually think that a lot of people were confused during that conversation about what exactly was said and what they were agreeing to, because several people came to me later and asked about what did we just agree to? So, or thought that we had agreed to something else. So yeah, we do have that as an agenda item at this meeting. It will probably get to it tomorrow, but because we have to get through all our reporting first. But I appreciate you asking about that, because it is something we're going to have to revisit again at this meeting. So thank you.
On that note, then, can I move that the minutes be approved except for that particular provision pending our further discussion of that matter.
Well, Peter, this is Dawn. Why don't we do what Mary suggested and just push it, table it until the next meeting where we have time to actually review the minutes better. Does that sound good?
I concur.
Okay. Does everybody agree with that?
I,
Yeah, this is ace. I would agree with that.
Okay. We'll just, you guys have the minutes, review them, send me your edits or send Carol your edits or both of us. If you don't have Carol's email, you can send them to me, that's fine. And we'll get your suggested edits addressed. I think we're done with this agenda item, Julie. Oh, here she comes. I thought she was back, sorry.
I'm back.
Okay, so
Where are we?
we just finished up with agenda item number 3.
Sure. So, are there any number introductions for people interested in joining stuff?
So this is Dawn Lyons. This is the agenda item where the members of the public can speak up if they're interested in becoming SILC members, as well as any introductions that for new members. So if you're
Hi.
interested,
Hi, Dawn. This is Margaret Marcucci. You know I'm interested.
we know Margaret, and we did endorse your membership since you announced last time. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it just takes, it's a process.
It's not our process; it's the
No,
government's
no.
process.
It requires patience.
Okay, I don't see any other hands up, Julie.
Okay, great. So, Dawn,
Okay,
would
yes.
you like to do number 5?
Yes, thank you. So this is Dawn Lyons, and agenda number 5 is our annual nominations for our officers, which we now have chair, vice chair, treasurer, and secretary to appoint. Are there any nominations for chair?
for the record, this is Mary Evilsizer. I would like to nominate Julie if she would consider serving as the chair. I don't know if her term is up. Thank you.
Thank you, Marian. I accept the nomination.
Are there any other nominations before we vote on chair? Okay, in that case, I'll take a roll call vote on Julie Weissman Steinbach as our chair for the next year. Ace Patrick,
Aye.
Saber McWhorter Clark, oh, can't hear her. I think she's gonna type it in the chat. Yes, okay, thank you, Sabra. Dee Dee Formaster,
Aye.
trying to make sure I don't call on anyone who's not here. Peter Whittingham,
Aye.
Mary Evilsizer,
Aye.
and those are all the voting members today. Thank you. Julie is chair for the next year. Congratulations, Julie.
Thank you.
Okay, now for vice chair, and even though he's not present, I would nominate Evander Davis as vice chair. Are there any other nominations for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Peter Whittingham. Dee Dee Formaster for the records.
Peter, are you in agreement with the nomination?
I accept the nomination.
Okay. Is there any?
Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, I'll start with a roll call vote. Actually, since there are two nominees, if when I call your name, you could speak the name of either Evander or Peter, whom you choose for vice chair, that would be great. Ace Patrick?
Oh, we're gonna do this spoken instead of,
Well, since we're virtual, we don't have a ballot. But if you
can
feel
we
like,
send you a chat? Well, I was just thinking maybe people would be more, since we have two nominees, I don't know if people would be more comfortable just sending you a message about who they choose. But
that's
we've
fine,
done that
you
in the
can,
past.
you can private chat me your choice if you prefer to do that.
I was thinking since we have two, that maybe that would be, I mean, we've done that in the past. So
Yeah.
maybe that would be preferable,
Sure,
maybe for
Sure,
people.
that's fine, actually, I understand that, you know, it may not, you may feel put on the spot otherwise, so. Yeah, why don't you, if everybody is able to, please private chat me, your choice, either Evander Davis or Peter Whittingham. Thank you.
John, before the vote, before you take a vote, is it in the procedure where the nominated person would be given a choice to see whether or not he or she accepts? And in this case, where
Well, in this
your
case,
your nominee is not present, do we have on the record that he will accept the nomination? I just, as a matter of procedure, I asked that question.
yes, and I appreciate that, Peter. This is Don Lyons. I would not have nominated him without his blessings, so he did accept the nomination.
Well, I'm just saying for that is important for the record. You knew that, but in terms of the record, it was not in the record. So I just thought it would be good for the record to be preserved that it was in fact communicated to him and he did in fact accept.
For the record,
Yes,
it was
he did.
communicated and he agreed.
Okay.
Okay. And Peter, I'm not sure if you're able to put a chat in while you're traveling. Is that the case?
No, I cast vote for myself as the
Okay.
vice chair.
Okay.
I can do so.
Your vote is noted.
Okay, very well.
1, 2, 3. I've got 4 votes in the chat so far.
Don, this is Catherine. As a point of order.
Go ahead, Catherine.
Master, for the record, I'm on security office. So
Dee Dee, can you
tell you
mute
who I'm
yourself,
gonna vote
please?
for. I'm gonna vote for.
I just wanted to make note that per open meeting law, the actions and deliberations of the public must be conducted openly. So private chatting, you still have to read on the record the votes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Do I have to, do you know, Catherine, thank you for that. Do you know if I have to read who voted for the name, or do I just read the name?
I'm going to politely
Because
say
we've done in the past when we've been voting in person, it is a private vote and we just read the names of the votes, not who voted.
Catherine, for the record, I don't know 100% for that. It may be that you can just say, you know, like 5 votes for so-and-so, 5 votes for so-and-so, but I don't know 100%.
That's actually what I thought I said, and that's what I was planning on doing. So that's what I'm gonna do. And then if we hear differently, I will ask the DAG afterwards to make sure we did it right. If we have to revote, we will.
this is Ace. That's what we've always done. And when we've been in person, we voted with writing on a slip of paper, and then, you know, especially when we've had more than one nominee.
Right.
And because I think votes should be private and not be a matter of public record, but I think reading and saying, I mean, it could be wrong, but this is the way we've done it in the past. That you would read off how many votes for so-and-so and how many votes for so-and-so without calling out individual names.
Yeah.
So this is Catherine for the record. For the messaging that we've gotten from the DAG, you do have to read who made each chat comment. And I only know this because we had the same exact instance come up. And so it may be a situation that you may want to defer to your DAG before voting, because it could completely null and void what you guys are doing right now. And I wouldn't want that. I don't want you guys to waste any time for that either.
Well, this is Dawn Lyons. I don't think we're wasting any time if we do it this way. And then if we hear that we have to redo it from the DAG, we'll just redo it. But I do see that the votes are all in, and we have 3 votes for Havander Davis and 2 votes for Peter Whittingham. So it is Havander Davis at this point that has won the vice chair position. But like I said, Peter, in all fairness, I will consult with the DAG, and I will ensure for the record that that was the correct way to do the voting. And thanks, Catherine, for your input. So moving on to the treasurer position, the treasurer we currently have right now is Ace Patrick. Do I have a nomination for anyone at this point?
For the record, this is Mary Evilsizer. If possible, for terms and everything else, I would nominate Ace continue as treasurer if she chooses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Is there, oh, sorry, Ace. go
sorry.
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that I would accept the nomination. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you, Ace. This is Dawn. Are there any other nominations for treasurer? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and since it's one nominee, we'll go ahead and do another roll call vote, if that's okay with everyone.
Yes.
Julie Weissman Steinbach,
Yes.
Ace Patrick. Oh, you don't get to vote, do you? Yeah, you do. You get to vote.
Oh, well, I'm not going. I always feel weird voting for myself, so I abstained.
Saber McWhorter Clark,
Yes.
Dee Dee Formaster,
Yes.
Peter Whittingham,
Yes.
Mary Evilsizer.
Yes.
Okay, you are the treasurer for another year. Thank you.
Oh, thank you all.
The last position, last but not least for sure, is secretary, and currently Saber McWhorter Clark is our SILC secretary. So I would go ahead and nominate that she continue in that role. If there are any other nominations, we'll take those now. No other nominations for secretary? Okay, I'll take another roll call vote then, since we only have one nominee. Julie Weissman Steinbach,
Yes.
Ace Patrick,
Yes.
Saber McWhorter Clark,
I'll abstain, but I'll say thank you.
Dee Dee Formaster,
Yes.
and Peter Whittingham.
Yes.
All right, thank you. It looks like we have our next year's officers in line. Julie, you continue as
Before you move on, John, I just feel compelled to make a comment at this point now that we have finished the vote. And it touches on the point that Catherine made about the need for these kinds of discussions to be made in public. And I'm particularly concerned about the conversation with the vice chair position, and what kind of conversation was had, if that's you who had that conversation with him about his interest in the position. Was that something
No.
that should have
No.
also been made public?
No, so
And-
this is Don Lyons for the record. It is not something that has to be public, because the last meeting I said that this meeting would be our elections, and then if we had if we wanted to make a nomination, that we should reach out personally to ensure that they would accept the nomination, that it would just be polite to do that ahead of time.
And I had a conversation. I had multiple conversations with Commander about this, and he expressed very enthusiastic interest in continuing as vice chair.
You get that, Peter?
Yes, I heard the comment from Julie. I must tell you that it's just my feeling that some of these conversations and the way that they came are raised concern as to the process. And it's not the fact that I was a nominated candidate why those concerns, why I express those concerns. But I've always thought that the fair process, as indicated before, should be done in public, and the manner in which it was done may have left in others' mind, as it left in mine, that perhaps the process was not conducted as fairly as it should have. That being the case, I think that this entire process, perhaps, if not only that position, should be stayed until we get some advice from our is it the deputy? What is the position of the attorney?
It's the dad.
The dad, yes. And so my thoughts are to make sure that the proper process, or the process is supported by the appropriate provision in law and bylaws, that we may wait until we get some advice from the dad to validate this particular process, and especially the position of the vice chair.
This is Don Lyons for the record. Peter, I have several years experience talking to the DAG about elections. And in this matter in particular, I have asked in the past if someone needed to be present for there to be a vote for their election. And the DAG has informed me that they do not have to be present as long as they have agreed to the nomination. And it does not have to be in public. They can agree to it in private.
Maybe you said that's why.
I'd like to Broadway check with the dad, but we have a long agenda to get through, and I think we need to move on.
So this is Don Lyons for the record, and while I can appreciate Peter, Dee Dee, I think you need to mute yourself. We're getting some background noise. Thank you. Peter, while I appreciate your concern and I understand why it's concerning to you, and I assure you that I will contact the DAG to get you a formal answer on this. And if they disagree, because, you know, we have been known to have changes of opinion over years by the DAG, if they decide that that is not the case anymore and that this is not valid, then we will revisit this vote, I assure you.
And so this is my last comment on the matter to move forward as per the vice chair. As you would, Dawn, understand why it is of a concern to me, so too I would understand why it may not be a concern to you, because you, the candidate was your nominee. My point is that for the fairness of the record, the question is whether or not this is your job, or is it the president's job or the chair's job to resolve the matter. Okay, sorry, Julie.
You're being, that is completely inappropriate. I have this stuck in here. That is completely inappropriate. I'm sure it's not towards nominee. I'm sure wanted to be nominated. He expressed that on several occasions to me. I would have said the same thing, but it's easier for John to lead that discussion. So I'm going to step in and stop and say that was completely inappropriate, and we need to move on now.
But this is Dawn Lyons, just one thing here. I just want to clarify that I did speak it that way as if it were my nomination, and I really kind of misspoke because he's the current vice chair. I was just reiterating that he had interest in continuing. But I shouldn't have said it in the way that I did, and it was misleading. So I apologize, Peter. But yes, Julie is right. It's time to move on. And I guess that agenda item number 5 is done for now. And if we need to revisit it, we will either tomorrow if I hear back from the DAG or at our next meeting.
I confirm for the record.
For the record, I will not be here tomorrow. So if we need to redo the election, I'm stating publicly I am interested in continuing as chair. Okay.
Oh, so this is Dawn Lyons. I don't think that we'll have to redo any other vote.
Okay.
Unless the DAG says we completely did all of this wrong, which I don't think they will.
Okay, I just wanted to state it on the record, just in case.
Okay, thank you, Julie.
Okay, moving on. Is Dave White Jr. present?
So he is, but he had to step away for just a minute. So maybe we can come back to him after I go through the overview and review of training protocol for SILC members based on Peter Whittingham's ask last meeting. Oh, wait,
Okay.
Wait a minute. I see Dave. He's back. Maybe Dave is ready. Would you like to go to him?
Yeah, sorry, I had to step out just for a second. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. Well, first off, my name is Dave. It's a pleasure to meet all of you guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. Jennifer's not here. I heard her name mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, but I want to give a shout out and thanks to her for setting this up for me to be able to meet with her. But yeah, so I'm here to introduce and talk to you guys about this idea and movement that I'm trying to spearhead at the University of Nevada and hopefully at all universities across the state of Nevada of developing a disability cultural center, a center, a place where we're not just looking at disability through the lens of getting our accommodations, but more so the looking at the culture, looking at all what makes disability unique and awesome, looking at neurodiversity, looking at physical disability, looking at it all. And for me, in the university setting, if you guys don't mind, I don't know how much time you guys have, but um, I'd like to kind of share a little bit about myself and kind of my passion and drive. So currently, I am a first year PhD student in disability studies and special education at the University of Nevada. And when I first started college, I started at a college at out in Colorado. And when I first started out there, I I was struggling personally with coming to terms and acceptance with my own neurodiverse mind, with my own ADHD, with my own anxiety, my own processing disorder, coming to terms with my own cerebral palsy and my own Beal syndrome, which, if you don't know, cerebral palsy is is caused by a bleed in the cerebellum at birth and causes muscle tension in the arms and legs. And Beal syndrome is a subset of Marfan syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder. So it sounds like a double whammy. But when I was going through college that freshman year, I didn't feel that I received any support. No support from my teachers, no support from my friends, no support from anyone on that campus. Like, I just felt this massive weight, this like stigma of both physical disability and my neurodiversity. So I hid both. Even while I was playing NCAA lacrosse, I hid my CP underneath my socks with my braces and whatnot. In the classroom, I didn't disclose my neurodiversity to any of my other students because growing up, I never really knew how to disclose and how to share these aspects of my identity. And I didn't know how to take pride in these aspects of who I am until I transferred to the University of Nevada, Reno. And that's when I met the director of the Disability Resource Center at the time, who was Mary Zabel, if any of you are familiar with who that is. He took me under her wing back back then, and she showed me who I am with my disabilities, not despite my disabilities. And from there, she put me in contact with Jennifer Kane, who then put me in contact with David Flink and Eye to Eye, which is this national near peer mentoring program. And we brought this near peer mentoring program to the university from 2013 to 2017, in which we paired neurodivergent college students on our campus at UNR with middle school students who learn differently, similar to us, and through a art-based curriculum. We showed the students how to be self-advocates, taught them self-efficacy skills, metacognitive skills, all that good stuff. And that also helped us university students build a community on our campus and build pride within ourselves as college students. And then fast forward a few years, I decided to go for my master's in ableism and continue on this path. I wanted to learn more. Like, I, I want, ironically, the kid that was struggling at the age of 18 with coming to terms with his neurodiversity and failing out of his first year of university, out of college, wanted to go for his master's. And now, and then like by going, so I ended up, so the past 2 years, I studied and got my MA in communication studies, emphasizing ableism at UNR. And then I got my first paper published this past summer in the Journal of Autoethnography, in which I wrote about the importance of sharing your stories of neurodiversity in academia. And when that got published, my sister was like, "Why don't you go for your PhD?" And so, yeah, and so here I am, now, uh, 13 years after that first year, um, first year of college, and so getting to this idea of a disability cultural center. Last semester, as I was taking my intro to disability studies course, Ali Patsavis, who is the director of the Code of the Freaks, came to speak with us. And she was talking about disability pride and about how various universities across the country have started this movement toward developing disability cultural centers. And when I heard this kind of just blew my mind, because I was thinking to myself, how is it that we don't have that here yet? Because in my mind, I was thinking immediately, because I used to work for our student union, and as I was an employee for the student union, I put out all the different special events for all the different clubs and all the different organizations. So I put out fairs for all these different cultural events, like all these different ethnic cultures, the LGBTQIA community. And when I was doing that, I was thinking to myself, where are we? Where's our representation? And when Ali told us that universities were starting these cultural centers, I was thinking, you know what? We should do that. We need to get in on that. And it got me thinking to a few years ago, also like, so a few years ago during my undergrad, this was like maybe 2015, the university invited they invited Temple Grandin, which was pretty awesome to see. And then they also invited an actor from the show Breaking Bad. His name is RJ Mitty or Mitt. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing his name incorrectly, but he is the actor who has cerebral palsy, who portrays the character with cerebral palsy on the AMC show Breaking Bad. And I remember when I reached out to the university saying that I too have CP, and that I shared that I thought it was awesome that they were bringing someone to the university to speak about CP. They invited me to like meet with him, and I just thought that like if we have more experiences like that, more more, I don't know, like we just need more of those types of uh, experiences to highlight our identities and just like bring pride to who we are. Um, so after Ali spoke with us, and after I had all these different ideas shoot through my mind, I then reached out to a few of my advisors uh, at UNR, and I was like, "Hey, what do you guys think of this idea of putting together and developing a full disability cultural center, one that like promotes like uh like one that promotes community and fosters education regarding and collaboration around disability. They thought that it was a great idea. So then I reached out to Jennifer, and so here we kind of are. That's yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. Um, and I I would love to be able to see this come into fruition. Um, just because it would just yeah. But yeah, so I really do appreciate you guys allowing me to speak with you all. Um, yeah, you can sort of tell that I definitely do have ADHD. But yeah, I this is like one of the projects that I think can like that I know can make a huge difference and impact on so many different students across our state and across multiple states that come to our universities and higher education and NC campuses uh, here in Nevada. So with your support, I hope that you guys will consider supporting this this idea and this push towards developing a cultural center for the university and for our disability community. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. I know that I kind of spoke fast and kind of sporadically, but yeah, yeah, Don.
Thanks. This is Dawn Lyons. That's amazing, Dave. I am really excited for you and for other students. That sounds like a wonderful idea. I actually have a couple questions, and I may have missed what you said because I had a couple distractions, but so forgive me if I'm asking something you already explained, but is this Disability Cultural Center, is it something that's going to be a physical location within the DRC at UNR, or is that going to be a separate thing?
So so the way that we're thinking about it is it will be a separate entity. It will be a separate space, a full space with that would contain, you know, sensory rooms and that kind of stuff that like students can come and congregate and just be who they are, as well as a place to um find like resources. It could be like like this. So yeah, but it will be rooted in like I said, it would be rooted in community advocacy and education. So
So this is Dawn Lyons. I appreciate that clarification because I don't know if everybody understands what the disability resource centers do, but they help students with their accommodations and that kind of stuff that they have for their for what they need during classes and during testing and things like that. And so a disability cultural center could be really a great place to go for the community to really support each other and to have those other resources out there outside of school readily available, right, Dave? Is that what you're saying? Because
yes. So hi, this is Dave. Um, I apologize if I did not make that if I did not clarify that altogether. But yes, so universities legally through the ADA have to have a disability resource center set up for students. Disability resource centers, um, they provide accommodations for students like extended time, note takers, pens that transcribe, that kind of stuff. that would be the Disability Resource Center. The Disability Cultural Center is a place where students would it would more foster a community of disability. It would foster pride of disability. It would foster education around disability, what it means to be disabled, what it means to be neurodivergent. It would mean bringing in speakers. It would mean having greater representation on our campuses as far as education, and just getting building a greater community out there. Because what I have found in my own experiences is that even teachers, even my professors, don't all recognize disability and how terms, language, all that kind of stuff affects the individual. So if we can like build a space where we can build pride um, of our students, then we can go out and be and just like we can just make make help like bring our university closer together essentially. Yeah. So
Dave, this is Dee Dee Formaster with the Rural Center for Independent Living.
yes.
I think it's a terrific idea. I also have neurodiverse problems. And I want you to know that I started the student government at WNC. So certainly I will be happy to help with anything I can do in that area for you. I think it's a terrific idea. I think more of this needs to happen. After all, they have a veterans center. They have all kinds of different centers there at most universities.
Losing you, Dee Dee.
Right. We need more the peers. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Didi. This is Dave.
But this is Julie Steinbeck for the record. I think it's such a good idea. And I'd like to encourage you to keep notes so that it could be replicated at other universities.
That is my hope, actually, is that once I get it developed at the University of Nevada, that then I can help get it established at other NSHE institutions across the state.
I see a thesis in your future. Are there any other questions for Dave?
So this is Dawn Lyons. I have one more question. So you said the school is actually supporting this idea, right? Is there
Yeah.
anything that our council can do to help support it in any way?
I think I'll have to like get back to you on the specifics, but I think it's knowing that like by having your stamp of approval when I reach out to like the monetary grants and all that. When I reach out for the monetary aspect of it, I think like if I can, by going to them and having like stamp of approval from your organization, then that holds ground. But if yeah, so but that's a
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is Dawn Lyons. I would, if you ever need a letter of support or if one of us can come in person and be there to support you physically, just let us know. Let
I will.
reach out to
Yeah.
Julie or
I,
myself.
I was gonna invite you as things develop. We'd love you to come back and give us updates.
Definitely, I will definitely update you for sure. Because, like you said, Julie, this is Dave speaking again. Sorry, I keep on forgetting. Uh, what would be really awesome is to get this going at UNR and then to get this going across the entire state. I mean, that would just be so cool for all of our students. It would just be so cool. Yeah. Well, it doesn't like that's an understatement, but like you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Dawn Lyons. I feel that excitement too. So yeah, I am personally, I'm willing to help any way I can. So just reach out to me anytime.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you guys listening to me and for allowing me to share a smidge um, of my background and of my past with school. Yeah.
But this is Dawn. Also, I want to say congratulations. And you've accomplished so much already. And this is really gonna put you down the history books, I think. I think this is going good places, and I'm excited that you shared with us. And I appreciate you coming and sharing it with us today and explaining all of it.
Yeah, this is truly for the record. Keep up the good work.
Dave, I want to encourage you to please listen to the rest of our meetings for the next couple days if you have time, and certainly think about becoming a SILC member.
Good job.
As I'm doing the recruitment for the SILC, because Dave, we need idea people like you on board. Thank you very much.
Good job, Titi. Any more questions for Dave? Thank you so much again. And stay in touch. Okay, Dawn, could you go over the training protocol?
I sure can. This is Dawn Lyons. So last meeting in June, Peter Whittingham, you requested that I bring back the training protocol for SILC members and just review it with us. As you may or may not recall, and Peter, you may not have been with us at the time yet when this happened, but I think you were. Anyway, last year, Julie actually created a checklist for SILC members as their onboarding and for ongoing training. And it's on our website under our training tab. And I've attached it as a material so that you can review that. What we end up doing, and it is explained in our policies and procedure manual, is that when someone shows interest in becoming a SILC member, we assign them a mentor, and the mentor works with them in going through that training checklist with them and explaining what trainings are available, because As you know, new trainings come out all the time from ILRU. And other, to interrupt this, thank you, Dave. He has to leave and go back to work. I really appreciate you coming again. Thank you. Okay, so back to the training. The trainings may improve over time. We're creating new trainings sometimes and replacing trainings on our website. So what we do is we have a tab on our website called trainings. And if you go to that tab, the items with 1 asterisk are mandatory trainings for SILC members. And it's recommended that you review those trainings at least once a year. However, it's not mandatory that you review them once a year, okay? Because if you remember them, that's great. But personally, I have to review them quite a bit because sometimes I forget, right? And so they're always there for you to review. If there's a new training that's important, we will add it to those trainings. And then the ones with 2 asterisks are recommended, but they're not mandatory. Every year, your mentor should be going over an independent learning or independent training plan. An ITP is what ACL calls it. It's mandatory that we keep those on file. And so every year you choose 3 trainings on that list, on the sheet that has the list of trainings that you can choose from that you're planning on accomplishing throughout the year. And then you at least do those 3 trainings. We recommend you do more, and we recommend you review the ones on our website. But if all you can get to are the 3 trainings that you planned on your ITP, then that's okay. But you agree to do those 3 trainings at least. So that's our protocol. It's a little bit cumbersome to get through the initial trainings as when you're onboarding. And that's only, in my opinion, because some of the trainings are older and they're hard to read. They're not very user-friendly as far as, you know, plain language goes, right? But that's what we're assigned a mentor for. So if we don't understand any of it, we can talk to our mentor about it, and our mentor can put that in plain language for us. And if the mentor assigned to you doesn't know, they can reach out to Julie or me or anyone else who has been with SILC for a while and understands these things, you know, or who have asked those questions. And if we don't know, we always can reach out to our federal guidance to get that information and then get that back to you, because all of us are, you know, I'm sure there's something that all of us don't know, right? So we always have that as a resource. So don't think that if you don't understand something that you're the only one who doesn't, because trust me, it's not all easy to get through, especially the open meeting law trainings, because it has nothing to do with our federal guidance. That has that's our state law. So that's a little complicated. And Robert's rules can get a little bit confused with open meeting law too. So some of those questions, you know, we have to actually ask the DAG about. So yeah, I mean, it can get a little bit difficult to follow, but that is our protocol, and that's what we have right now. And we're working on improving it all the time. We're working on not necessarily improving the protocol and the list that Julie created, because that's a wonderful list that we approve, and for good reason. But as far as the individual trainings themselves go, we're always trying to find ways to improve them. Granted, I have been pretty busy lately and haven't been able to get to some of those items that I've been wanting to, but you know, as volunteers of the Statewide Independent Living Council, you are always welcome to work on that yourself if you see room for improvement, or if you see that you could potentially improve something for us. You're welcome to present those ideas as well. So if there's something you see not working, we want to hear about it. But other than that, if there's any questions besides that, their training is on our website, and the checklist is what our protocol is. Does that clear it up for you, Peter?
Dawn, I didn't intend, for any questions asked or suggestion made, that it be personalized as far as I'm concerned. I raised the question the last time as an agenda item for us to consider formalizing the onboarding training process, not just for me, but for other candidates as we effort to recruit new members to the council. And so I don't want you to be specific to me in terms of your response, but generally speak to the council's process and practice, and whether or not, and what can we do to improve the training process and to formally have an onboarding process which is implemented. I, as a member on the council now for more than a year, and I received your email a couple of days ago where you sent me some information which you thought might be relevant, and as you noted, that it perhaps was the wrong information that you sent me. So I'm just thinking that as a council, it would be good to take another look at our training process and whether or not there is some improvement that we can do to formalize the onboarding training process.
This is Dawn Lyons. Peter, our training onboarding training process is formalized. That's what I was saying, is it's on our website and we have a checklist that we go through with our mentors that are assigned to us. Is there something specific that should be improved?
So as Julie was saying up for the record, I think the chat, I think one of the challenges is that if the assigned mentor gets overwhelmed or flakes or whatever, there's no specific guidance for asking for a new mentor. And perhaps we can clarify that procedure.
That's a great point, Julie. This is Dawn Lyons. So when a mentor that's assigned to a new trainee is overwhelmed and doesn't feel like they can perform the mentorship duties, I would say, well, because we originally were working towards, and we have a request in for our designated state entity, or actually for the state, rather, I should say, and it's going to be presented to legislature for, hopefully they'll approve our requested position for a program officer that would be in charge of, so to speak, all the training for the SILC, because that's really something we need desperately, is a full-time position that could dedicate that time to that. There's a lot of work behind that, and I've done a lot of it. Julie's done a lot of it. We've had input from a lot of SILC members, but really it needs to be coordinated.
She can go to the restroom.
What I think will happen if we are approved for that position is we'll be able to button these things up where we have these gaps in, what do we do if this happens, or what do we do if that happens, or who do we contact, right? Right now, it's all me, because I'm really the only one working with you guys as staff that can address those issues. So, and I am a little bit overwhelmed being the only full-time staff member right now for SILC. But like I said, if we are approved for our other full-time positions, we would also have a program officer for training and administration, and then we'd have a program officer for the youth outreach. And so crossing our fingers that we get those positions approved, because we need more than one staff member to do all the work that the SILC has that we have to have done. And we've grown so much, and we have really come a long way, but we really can't move any forward any more than we are, because we're kind of stuck in this, just trying to keep up with what where we're already at until we get more staff members to help us. So I hope that clarifies, Peter, and I do apologize that we don't have more staff to help us right now. We're working on it. We've been asking for it for over 3 or 4 years now. We've been asking for it, and hopefully this year is the year we'll get it. But yeah, in the meantime, what Julie said, if a mentor is overwhelmed, you know, they can ask me. And even though I'm a little overwhelmed, I will do what I can to help. And whether that means I can assign a new mentor or whether I can kind of help that mentor in the interim until they can ease up on their own schedule or whatever it is that's bogging them down. So we'll together as a team, you know, we're working on it until we can get more staff.
This
Thanks,
is
Dawn.
Dee Dee. This is Dee Dee Formaster for the record. And I have to say, Don, that I pray to God we get some staff in there before you totally burn out.
Yes.
And all I got to say is all of us are, you know, undermanned, and all of us every day of the week work as hard as we can to get as much done as we can, and what didn't get done we do the next day. So, and I just want to say that everybody out there is doing a hell of a good job with what we got. So God bless y'all.
Dawn, your explanation has answered my question, and in the words of Julie, we can move on.
Thank you, Peter. And I wasn't trying to direct it at you necessarily, because all of us struggle with, you know, what did we have to do again? What was our training again? What was expected of us? So it's not just you. And I want to make that clear. I wanted to, you know, it was a good suggested agenda item, and I wanted to make it clear to everybody what the process is again, so that you guys can revisit those trainings on our website.
This is Ace, and I just want to say that I know Dawn and others have worked on the website and the training that's there. When I first started with the council almost 6 years ago now, there was nothing at all. So what we have there is such an improvement. But of course, everything can always be improved even more. So, but I have to say that without that website being there, without what is there for training for us to go back to and refer to, we didn't have anything when I first started. So I commend Dawn and everybody else that's worked hard on getting that up and running. And, you know, the training is there and you can review it at any time on your own, which is perfect. You don't have to attend a class. You don't get graded on it. Sorry, my dog. Anyway, thanks for all the hard work.
Thank you, Ace. This is Dawn Lyons. Julie, before we move on to the Centers for Independent Living reports, would it be a good idea to take at least a 10-minute break right now, you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'll pause the recording and we'll return at 2:28. How does that, or 2:29? Okay.
Perfect. Is everybody back?
This is Dawn Lyons. Julie, just so you're aware, Mary had stated in the chat a couple times and ahead of the meeting that she had another
Yeah.
obligation and she had to go. So she's not going to be able to give her report today.
Yeah.
I don't think she has anyone else here that can do that for her, but we can ask Lisa and Dee Dee for their reports.
Do we still have a quorum? Do we still have a quorum?
Oh, let me check.
That's my only concern.
Yes, we have
Okay.
Sabra, Peter, Dee Dee, you, and Ace. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So is Lisa here? Or somebody from Northern, the Northern Center for Independent Living? You're, you're muted, John.
Sorry, this is Dawn Lyons. Lisa was here earlier, but I do not see her anymore, so well, we might have to
If
revisit.
she comes back, we can ask her.
Yeah.
Okay. Dee Dee, it looks like you're up.
Hey, Dee Dee, it looks like you're muted like I was. She may be delayed in getting back. I'm not sure. Dee Dee, are you there? She is still there. I just don't know if she may be on the phone and can't respond. Should we
we
maybe
could,
come back to that?
yes. Is John here?
I do see John.
Hello, everyone. John Rosen for
Hi.
the record. I'm going to shut off my camera because I have a really good computer that overheats or does something and shuts down. So hopefully you can hear me fine. If not, somebody wave or speak up and I'll try to make an adjustment. But I'm going to get started. This is was a tough time to put the report together, so I'm going to tell you it's a little bit of data, and I'm going to just kind of go through some of it fairly quickly. And I'm not going to go through any of our survey data because I don't have a good update of it, and then just kind of jump to some of the challenges, if that sounds okay. That's kind of the plan, and then next go around after our state fiscal year is not closing, we'll get into a little more detail and have a little bit more data for you. Okay, so I'll start off with the program description in case we got anybody online that is not aware of what the Assistive Technology for Independent Living program is. It's a combination of three themes: independent living, federal independent living. Funding is used, but more than the funding, it's the concept of what this program was created. It is created with independent living as the initial service. So independent living, setting independent living goals, same format that you'd find in accessing any center. Next part is Assistive Technology Act services. Those services, there's a host of services under the AT Act. The focus here is helping people make informed decisions and to be able to find what's most appropriate, not starting with what they qualify for, but what's the most appropriate for their need. And that often doesn't go with what they want. So our charge on that is really identifying what's the most appropriate, and they have their choices and options. Our last piece is the state funding that actually can fund purchasing it if we can find no other resource. The program's been around for 30+ years. Same current structure since the 2000s, I'll say. Since my inception into the program, it's been about the same kind of process with these three features: the independent living, assistive technology, and then of course the state funding, which has become significantly more since the mid to late 2000s. So the focus still remains on removing the physical barriers to essential daily living for people with disabilities that choose to live in the community. So that's the barriers that are the everyday physical barriers that somebody would have accessing their home, getting throughout their home, talking in that sense of somebody that has a physical disability and can't either get in or out of their home, so on and so forth. There still exists, does not exist to be a resource through any private insurance funding source. General Medicaid, it's only under the physical disability waiver. I believe there's now an option through some of the developmental services. There was an extension there, and I think that about covers it unless it's tied to a vocational goal. You better have some private resources to do that, or you work on a job or something. So the same barriers basically still exist for most of the things we do, because of course they're coming to us instead of going to that funding source. The program's independent living goals are really trying to help that individual delve into that goal of what they're really trying to accomplish and not make it about a material thing. I probably say this every time, rather than looking at a goal, my goal is to get a ramp. It's why do you want the ramp, and flesh that goal out so you can really understand what they're trying to accomplish, so that you can help them look at this broader plan of what may need to happen. There may be other goals that need to be established that are part of that larger goal of trying to go somewhere in the community, or go out into plant a garden, whatever that is. There's always something more than a ramp, right? The ramp is typically just the means of getting past the barrier. So for an example of what some of the end solutions we usually are looking at are typically home access solutions, right? Widening doors, putting ramps in, looking at durable medical equipment, modifying vehicles, or looking at vehicles that are already modified, visual aids, mobility devices, personal communication technology, either for hearing or speaking. That's a very simplistic list, but it's really based on what those barriers are. Is it tied to an essential daily living task that you need to do? If it is, then you're in the right spot. This year so far, and I'm talking about your federal fiscal year, Nevada SILC. So from October forward through June 30th, we've had 256 consumers. That's a lion's share of those were carried over from the last year. So 256 total this year. 83 of those were new consumers that have come on since that time. About 45% of those consumer service records have been closed. That means closed for whatever reason. I'll jump to the goal piece, and that is 75% of our goal of those closed cases, the goals were met. The remaining are in different categories. I'll just say, to make it simple, 23%. So we had 75% of the goals met. That's the individual saying, yes, my goal was met for each and every goal that they had. 23% of those were closed, either due to unable to contact the person or withdrawn. So that kind of gives you a gauge of what we're looking at here. Pretty much if somebody's accessing the program, we're pretty successful at getting your goal met to address your essential daily living if you don't withdraw and drop out of contact. So jumping to the estimated costs and where we're at there. As I spoke up before, and you're probably all aware of, we did get some ARPA funding to eliminate the waiting list. And I'll get into some of the challenges later, but right now we still show a little bit of a waiting list. And the only reason that is because we technically didn't make the case active. We have to be respectful of the people that have been waiting the longest. And so making everything active is just a stroke of the pen and makes it look like everybody's active, but we don't have the staff and we don't have the vendors to complete the tasks that need to be done. So making them active would just, like I said, would be a mark on the paper versus actually moving their cases forward. We need to get some of this work done. And we're really kind of at a maximum capacity with getting those things done. But on a bright note is we probably won't have a wait list this year. We will be able to just continue moving right along and working through people as quick as work can get done. We're looking at doing something new and a little more innovative in the terms of trying to use some of our healthcare workforce funding that the assistive technology project initially didn't think we were going to get to use. ADSD was going to use it for something else. And we're going to try to use that to create a focused position that will support the exploration of assistive technology for these consumers. if that makes sense. There's a little bit more to that when I talk about the challenges, and that really comes down to the skills in the staff people that we have. I say we have. Trying to find somebody that understands independent living, that understands assistive technology, and that can meet with a consumer and talk to them about their options and their resources and help them compare and make informed decisions. That's like a Cinderella. It's hard to find somebody that has all those skills. And so it takes a while to build that. And so we're trying to look at trying to create some of those positions that they would exist in existing programs where that may be supported a little bit better. And hopefully it'll work out. So again, estimated cost wise, right now where we stand, we have more funding resources to pay for those things. But as I said, that in my opinion is going to be short-lived. As soon as individuals hear that there is a waiting list, you'll find people that will be more apt to develop independent living goals and go through this process that would otherwise go, just walk away and say, well, I can't wait that long. Even when you engage with somebody and say, well, what are you going to do? You're saying you don't have any options. How are you going to access your home if you don't come in? I'll figure it out. When you no longer have a wait list, that's going to trigger some things, I believe. I don't have the data to show it yet, but we'll keep you informed going forward. Right now, we have about $1.3 million in estimated costs. However, back to the needing some help in figuring these solutions, we have 83 different goals and solutions that are open that we don't have a solution determined for yet. So what that tells me is we're a little bit behind the 8 ball there. We don't have something figured out for them or confirmed. We may have, we may say that we kind of know what the person's going to need. They need this certain type of shower chair, but we don't have it all dialed in yet. We don't know how complex that shower chair is going to need to be, or we don't have the people involved to get one there to show what it looks like. That's 83 different ones, and that could be pretty significant. That could change our estimated cost significantly, is what I'm telling you. But that's one of the outliers that we look at. With that, I'll kind of stop there. I would say right now, 55% of the original consumer number, we have about 55% of those consumers active right now, which is 141 individuals. Any questions before I jump into some of our challenges?
This is Dawn Lyons. I don't see any hands up, but I can you clarify again what the position is going to be for? It's a focused position or a focus position?
It's going to be a position focused within the AT Resource Center program. But its focus is going to be 3 parts, and we're just kind of getting this thing off the ground. In fact, I don't even have the budget for it. There's 3 things we want to accomplish here through this focused position in the AT Resource Center. Number 1 is supporting the ATIL consumers. So even before goals are fleshed out, if an AT specialist needs to go to this person's home and meet with them and try to help get things going or be on the phone or whatever, this is actually supposed to be happening naturally, but it doesn't, because I wish I had the answer, or else I'd have a solution for you. It should be happening naturally to where those 2 programs, which are connected, right, through common goals to make sure to try to get the consumer successful and find what the best solution is. And so that's one part, right? Having this person that's dedicated to do that. I say one person, this could be many people, but that they're not, the term we use is we're not taking on somebody else's responsibility. And this funding can be used to help address this wait list and to hire an AT specialist. And that's with my talks with ACL. I know that we would get the thumbs up to do something. So,
Thanks,
so
John.
to close that one piece, that's one part of it. The other part is I want to start getting together and create a mechanism that peer users can get involved if they want to be involved and engage with other consumers that have been successful. So, right, you've got consumers that have been successful after doing a modification in the home. Do you want to be involved with other people? Do you want to go and meet with other consumers or pick up the phone and talk to them? That hasn't happened in many years. It happened informally many years ago when I was at the Center for Independent Living. That was your go-to. You went and found people that were peers of yours and got them involved. And so I want to try to have this position also supporting that, reaching out to consumers, either that have come through the AT Resource Center, have come through the ATIL program, but find people who are living good, independent living lives that are following those principles and self-choice in that, and having them, if they want to be more of a peer model for new consumers.
This is Don Lyons. Thanks, John, for that description or explanation. I personally, I don't know about the rest of SILC, but I personally would love to hear how this progresses and how it's moving along as it does.
Oh, it's going to
Yeah.
be great, of course. No, there probably won't be any road bumps along the way. That's me being silly. Nobody can see me smiling. I'm hopeful. We have to get back to a peer-based. We have to get back into, in my opinion, a peer-based model. That those are the individuals that have been successful and I'm just looking at this essential daily living thing, like being able to get up and functionally take care of your self-care needs and those types of things that you have to do just to get out of the house, right? There's a lot of knowledge there, and it in my experience, it's never come down to finding some professional that's going to do it for you. You're better off talking to 2 or 3 people that live it every day, that can give you input and even criticism, and you're willing to take that rather than having a professional come in that you're paying that comes out and says Don or John needs X, Y, and Z. Here's where you get it, and I'll throw it in a top. We'll order it for you. And that seems to be what programs often look for, is this little package deal. And I'm saying it gets really messy in independent living, but you've got to take that extra step, and that's hopefully what we're going to do here. Wrapping up with the challenge pieces, our big one, I think, is the home modification vendors, and that's primarily in Las Vegas. I know we did, the program did get an additional vendor there. It's just very difficult. I hate to say this, but it's been difficult for over 20 years to get good contractors that want to be involved. Every time there's a housing boom, you lose people because they'll rather go make money where they can make money. The fortunate thing is in Northern Nevada, there's been 2 longstanding contractors that just take on pretty much anything, and they've made the program their focus. Whenever work needs to be done, they get it done. They get it done quickly as possible. In Las Vegas, there are 2 longstanding contractors, but we also need probably like 4 or 5. And it's hard to describe, but this isn't. We don't want people to be like. We're not looking for this big competitive beating out the other guy. We want everybody focused on accomplishing what needs to be accomplished, right? Not outselling the other person, or it really should be about the consumer getting what they absolutely need. And that's just been a challenge, but I'd say especially in Las Vegas the last 10 years. We've actually lost contractors instead of gained more. Except for the one recently. The other one, staffing, and this is no independent living is a difficult thing for people to. It's hard to train something that people don't live, and there's nothing against staffing that exists. That this is not what I'm saying. I'm saying, how do you go and find somebody that understands what independent living is, right? You guys meet what every quarter? How easy is it to talk to people about what independent living is after you get past telling them that you're not in the nursing home business, you're not selling them, a bed at a nursing home and calling it independent living? Then you got to, you're always trying to push and make sure that the staff really believe it themselves. Do you believe that people with disabilities should be making their own decisions, and you're supporting that, and you're not just signing them up for a program? Third, assistive technology. Now you throw the monkey wrench in there, and assistive technology can be as simple or it can be complex, and really it comes down to is finding who's the best expert in the room. If I don't know anything about wheelchair ramps, I don't speak about wheelchair ramps. I go and find the people that are, but these are the challenges. And then you're throwing in that third piece of, oh, and there's funding tied to it, and you have to make sure that you're responsible for these state dollars. Hopefully the creation of this position, this experiment, that I say experiment, it's the way it should be operating. It just hasn't for so long. We've relied on being able to support staff and build their skills and do all those things. But the reality is that people leave, and you end up spending a lot of time supporting new staff in this type of position. Hopefully, if we can create this position, we can fill this AT piece and kind of eliminate any conflicts. The AT should be figured out between the consumer and an AT specialist, and not the person that's not only responsible for the dollars, but responsible for making sure that the goals met, right? There's kind of a separation there, and I'm not saying it can't be done, but somehow and I used to run the program, so I'll tell you, you get into these conflicts of going, well, I don't know if they really need that or not. I shouldn't be in that conflicted position when I'm the aisle specialist, and I'm the AT specialist, and I'm the consumer's advocate. And then I'm also telling the consumer that I don't think that that's warranted. Hopefully we can get that kind of wrapped up. I'm going to jump into a little bit of the waitlist funding piece there. And that's really not the amount of funding that we have, though that's all well and good. I think the challenge we're going to have is that this funding potentially could get taken back by the end of this year, 12/31 and 24. And that's a challenge for us. Not having to, trying to get all this work done. We literally can't go and hire staff off the street and say, okay, we're going to go through and get all these consumers served in the next 6 months. And we're just starting our new state fiscal year as of 9 days ago. So we have our state general fund. We don't want to put that in jeopardy. Don't. I'm not that concerned about it. When I get concerned about it, I'll let you know, but it's a challenge. We're going to have to get a lot of work done before then, and we'll make a good case when it comes time to put our information forward, as if we can't get this funding all obligated, because we're certainly not going to give up what took us all these years to get the general fund and put that at jeopardy. That wouldn't make any sense. It's just a challenge. I thought I'd make everybody aware. Last but not least, is the funding that was included in that waitlist funding is specifically for blind services. This one is one of the biggest challenges we have, and that is the focus for orientation mobility training. I spoke with VR because they have 2 orientation mobility training specialists hired. There's nobody there aren't any trainers that we've been able to find that aren't employed somewhere. So that's probably our biggest barrier right there. I did talk to VR a little bit, and we did go through the scenarios if we would be able to maybe pay, reimburse them to have their trainers do the training. The only impacts we have there is they can't fill one of their longstanding open positions. So my research over the last years, that there's just really a lack of orientation mobility training specialists that are certified to do that. And if you have somebody that's working with a school district or working for a county or a state, they're not going to be able to do that on the side. So we have some challenges there. So we have the resource, but going forward, we're going to have some challenges with filling that. The next step is trying to find if there's some retired folks. Somebody shared with me a list of names of people that had worked in Nevada as orientation mobility specialists. But trying to track people down means you're like looking on Facebook and everything. And I did find one of them who moved to Texas. That wasn't helpful. So that in itself are the challenges and the numbers as of now.
This is Dawn Lyons. I wonder if there's something that we as a council could do to maybe promote the idea of, you know, recruiting more orientation mobility instructors in our state. I know it's been an issue for a while, and, you know, we've been looking at how can we address this and how can we fill this need that's out there. That we've been talking about that with the NSRC or the Rehab Council as well, you know.
So you hit it on the head. The problem is we don't have we don't have a position for anybody to have long term, right? When those services so the specific group of people, I say group, the demographic, whatever you want to call it, were people that weren't looking for a job, that just needed orientation mobility. They weren't ready to develop a vocational goal. When that was eliminated, then where was somebody going to get that? There was nobody that had a funding resource. Until this $200,000 is available, nobody had the funding to even hire somebody. So there's been nothing to entice that. There's nothing to hold anybody here. And that's why we don't have that. And if you look back at our previous model, all of that flowed through VR. So that meant you worked through vocational rehab, DEETR, and there wasn't room even for a private individual then, right? There was nobody else paying for that. The VA sends people out of state, so there's not a local VA orientation mobility specialist. So it's like there needs to be some infrastructure, right? There needs to be something sustainable to get that person. The next step would be finding that person to move here. VR's had, I think, that open position for over a year.
Yeah, and this is Dawn Lyons for the record. I know that Raquel, who used to be one of our SILC members, you know, I know she was running a program that did offer orientation mobility training across the state. And when she had to close those doors, Voc Rehab took over. And unfortunately, like you said, now they don't serve anybody who isn't looking to be employed. So, because they can't. So, but I'm wondering if maybe this is something that, you know, if we could, I'm wondering if the Centers for Independent Living would be interested if they could get the funding to hire somebody to do orientation and mobility training.
But so I can be clear, the problem is we can't find anybody to hire. We have the resources there. If we could find that person, again, the challenge is going to be long sustainability. If we don't have a program through December, trying to get, I'm just saying, try to think about, would you move to Nevada for a job through December, and then have to turn around and pack up and leave? That would be the challenge I think that we're looking at. And I'm saying this is a long-standing problem that we have because the way services were set up in the state, there has been no room for an orientation mobility specialist to make a living.
Yeah, this is Dawn Lyons. I'm confused now because I thought you were saying that this funding may not be continued and that you weren't able to find an orientation mobility specialist. And so I understand the issue is you can't get one to just work temporarily. And then what if the funding runs out? Do we have a way that we can support funding a permanent orientation mobility, you know, or being able to promote the funding of a permanent position for anyone who's willing to do it, whether that's your program or whether that's the Centers for Independent Living or whoever? You know, I think which comes first, the chicken or the egg is what I'm asking, because I'm thinking, do we try and recruit or do we try and get a permanent position? You know what I mean?
I get what you said. Yeah, the establishment of a permanent program is definitely what allows you
It's,
to do that, right? That's what allows you to create that position.
it's, excuse me, it's, do we go to 3 or 4?
I'm
Because-
sorry, I didn't mean to take us off track from John's report. I just think it's an important conversation
Yeah,
because it's something that
I
we've
agree.
needed, we've talked about before. And I want to see
Mhm.
how our council can actually make an impact in that regard, or what we could possibly do to help. So
This
I
is
was trying to figure out.
Dee Formaster for the record. I know that there's a school down in Long Beach, California, that teaches signing as well as things coordinated towards the blind. And I know that a lot of people graduate from there and they never do anything with it because they can't find jobs in California. So I would say let's recruit out of colleges that maybe might have that program that they're teaching. Because I know that several people graduated from the university there in Long Beach and got their bachelor's degrees in signing and are wandering around wondering what to do with it because they can't find a position. So, and I think they have a section also for mobility training there. So, I would, look towards the colleges that might teach mobility training. And I think it might be good for us to think about networking with other people who may need a mobility specialist, other programs, and maybe we can all throw in a little bit and get them employed full time. So that might be worth looking into for the council. Thank you. This is
John
Dave.
Rose.
Oh, sorry, John. Didn't mean to walk all over you. I just wanted quickly to say, and then John, you can go ahead. That I have a friend who is now she's been losing sight over time. She's blind now. She's in California. She's been trying to get a mobility trainer and they have a wait list and she's waiting around and she is working and she's working with different agencies as well. And she's just waiting for them to come over and help her with cane trainings, orientation mobility training in her area. I mean, she was told she could go to one of the, live-in training programs that they have there. But that would entail leaving her home for at least a month or more, which she can't do on Section 8 without being able to, take care of her home. And then she also has some pets. But she's thinking about all this. So I've been listening to her struggle with no orientational mobility training as she's now lost her sight and she needs training with her with tech services and stuff as well. So I think it's a problem across the board. So I don't know, are we even getting people who are going into these programs to be trained, especially for orientational mobility? I don't know. John, maybe you have more information than I do on that.
This is John. The allocation or however it came back, well, I do know how it started, but we won't get into this. And I know we're trying to wrap this thing up, and it'd probably be good to put a pin into having this conversation about this gap services, because I spent quite a bit of time in gathering the information and talking to individuals throughout the state. This wasn't like just because John knew that the gap existed. The gap exists for non-VR and anybody that is not 55 and older. And again, all of the people that fit in those two buckets are relying on two people in the state. There's only two orientation mobility specialists with that. So there is a gap, but what we're going to find out regardless, even if we can't find an orientation mobility specialist, and I say, don't say that that's going to happen because we don't know. I let you know what the challenges are, and I don't give up very easily. So we're going to keep working towards that, but we will come out of it with data. We're going to come out of this, finding out how many people exist out there and what those barriers, right? Something that hasn't been done since the time that that program was eliminated. So they're not ideal, I would say, but coming out of something with data is what started this program over 30 years ago. People standing up and saying this program needs to exist because there's nobody that can get, you can't get a ramp into your house if something happens to you. If you can't live in your home, where are you going to live? Just that simple. It starts with gathering information and getting those people together so that those people can make a voice. That's what independent living is. And that's where that advocacy movement starts. And what I'm trying to tell everybody is there are challenges along the way. I don't like promoting programs like, oh, we've got this money now and you're going to be able to get it. Whenever I talk to people, I want them to know what they can expect. And that's what I'm trying to do, is say, we have some challenges there. We have some funding, but we also have some challenges with filling that. But the silver lining is we will be bringing people together and being able to identify who they are and hopefully go with something positive if something did happen and we couldn't find an orientation mobility specialist. Or if we're able to work with VR and we find out that our people are last in line and we only get a couple people training, right? Who knows what we're going to find? We're going to build it just the same.
But this is Dawn Lyons. John, I have it jotted down that we can address this as a different agenda item at our next meeting. Is there something, maybe you and I can get together behind the scenes and discuss how exactly we should approach this topic and if there's something specific we need to actually decide at the next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. I think you guys got it down in your spill to find information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that too. All right. Any other questions regarding the ETIL program? Hearing none, I'll click off.
Thank you so much. Didi, are you able to compare this for?
Yes, I am sorry for the technical difficulties. Earlier, I was changing from my cell phone to my computer because, excuse me, I finally survived the Social Security visit. So let's see. What's going on with our CIL? Well, our recreation club is up and running. Still, we're doing exceedingly well. We're adding members as we go. We had 4 new members last night. So our support group and recreation club is going well. As far as our information and referral, we have people, well, let's see, I've had 7 phone calls today already. And 1 person in the office. So people are coming in droves. They're desperate, they're needy, they're confused, they don't know where to go for help. And I have people on oxygen living in their car with their service animals. I have people out in the middle of the desert in broken down trucks that are veterans that need services out in Fallon. I've got people in Fernley that need independent living help. And so I can't tell you how absolutely and totally needy the rural areas are. And I think Margaret certainly can attest to the fact that her center is growing rapidly and is pretty much overwhelmed like we are. We are in desperate, desperate need of some kind of financial help so that we can keep these rural areas running. And you just finished hearing John speak. So I am going to tell you that John's program is incredible. As a matter of fact, we'll be working alongside John's program soon. And I have another phone call coming in as usual. So I wanted to just bring up this little bit of information because I kind of took a look at the situation with our funding, which right now we don't have any. It's stripped out. And so I am asking that maybe if we revisit the fact that John's organization, which he has told you is state funded and funded through several sources. One third of the SILC budget goes into John's organization. And I'm not saying that John doesn't do a terrific job, because I know personally what a great job he does. So, but I'm asking if we could get like about 87,000 of the money that is going to John so that we can keep the rural services going. People are absolutely and totally desperate in the rural areas. They're on the streets. It's I can't tell you how bad it is. But I can tell you that what they're doing to the disabled community right now in the rural areas is they're throwing them all into group homes. And you know, that's not where people with disabilities belong. We need to help our disabled community continue to be independent, and that's not happening in the rural areas and will not happen if we don't have some kind of support. And I can't tell you enough how desperate it is out there. I just now in the middle of the meeting got another phone call from a woman who's living in her car. She's lived here in the Carson City area for 15 years. She got evicted because, of course, they were redoing her apartment. And now she is out in the heat with her service dog and living in her car. And so I cannot tell you how desperate it is out there. We need the 5 core services to be able to, you know, bolster up those services to the consumers in the rural areas. So I'm asking you to please reconsider. So we are doing exceedingly well, other than we're totally and completely overwhelmed. And I'll let Margaret jump in and tell you what it's like in the Elko area.
Oh dear. It is. Let's put it this way. Today, I had to go over to a apartment complex with a client and mediate a problem because she was going to be out on the street. We came with an agreement. We signed an agreement. Every time anybody gets in trouble that is disabled or whatever, I get a call from this apartment manager. And it's almost all of Elko right now. And she has over 200 people waiting for apartments. She doesn't like kicking people out. So we work together to make sure that our people are there. Tomorrow, this is my tomorrow before the spill meeting. I'm going to go to the young lady that I helped this today. She's like, I won't go. Yeah, you are. We're going. We are going to welfare with her, another person, and another person before my phone has been ringing off the hook. And I have to tell them I will take your name, your telephone number. I will get back to you. But we need the financing. We don't have it right now. I mean, Dee Dee knows that I'm working kind of sort of for free.
Yep. And I want everybody to know right now that I worked for free to keep my center open.
Yes.
For 20 years without being paid.
Yeah,
I don't know too many people out there who would have done that, but that's why I am so committed to getting services into these rural areas. And it's not because I want to line my pockets, it's because they desperately need services. So please think about reconsidering and taking a new vote on helping us to be able to help the disabled communities that are out there in the rural areas, because otherwise they're going to go without.
I picked up 8 new people yesterday, and that's nothing abnormal for me. And I am going in every which direction. In fact, tonight I have a young lady whose car broke down. She needs help. And I told her I would go and meet with her at 8 o'clock tonight.
But this is Dawn Lyons. Do you guys mind if I jump in here? Because I have some things to say about what you're talking about. Go
ahead.
And I think that the SILC can really appreciate the fact that this is an ongoing issue across the rural areas, and it has been for a long time. The problem is we didn't have the data, and in our spill draft, which we will have to talk about during our spill agenda, probably tomorrow when we get to it, you know, we can revisit that budget, because even during our town halls, we had a lot of public input that were saying the same thing that you're saying right now. And so maybe the SILC does need to revisit that funding issue, but we can do that during that agenda item because that's where it's appropriate. But I hear you loud and clear about the services. The problem about giving it directly to our CIL is that during our conversation last time about the spill, the ACL has determined that you guys don't qualify yet as a Center for Independent Living until we have the data to back it up. But we do have a goal in our next spill to collect that data. And once we have the data to back up everybody screaming from the rafters about the same issue for so many years, you know, as soon as we have that data to back that up, we'll be able to really present that data and do something about it, something concrete. It would be nice if we had a plan in place where, you know, we could maybe address the financial issue in a notice of funding opportunity for the rural areas. That might be the opportunity we have to discuss in our spill. So we can do that then, but
I have done, I have plenty of data. My whole office is full of data.
you can share that data with us as well, and we can take that in.
I will.
In as well. Something
25 years worth of data.
Something I do want to say is that measly $30,000 that all we had to contribute towards the housing crisis for your rural center for independent living over the last fiscal year. I know it's not enough, but we understand how desperate people are, and we understand the work that you're doing to help them. And so we know that we want to support that work. And so we're doing what we can to ensure that we're going about the process the right way, and that and if we need to have that conversation when we discuss this bill, we can, and we wouldn't need to have more town halls because it's already been stated at our town halls. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Don, if you would come now to Elko and see all the clients I have and all the problems they've had with other agencies telling them, hey, we don't service Elko, Nevada. We don't service Battle Mountain, Nevada. And I'm now starting to go to Battle Mountain and paying for my own gas.
What we need, Margaret, and maybe it seems silly, but it's not, is the SILC needs to hear from these consumers out in those rural areas. They need to come to our meetings and give us public comment about these things instead of telling someone who has a financial vested interest in it, if that makes sense.
Oh, trust me, she asked me if she could come in. I would have to sit and tell her, sit, stay, because you don't want to know. You don't want her to go ballistic, because she's already had fun with me sitting in the office and me going, I know. And when I tell them, I said, I'm doing this free, they're like, no, you're not.
What I'm saying, this is Dawn Lyons. What I'm saying is they can call in to our meetings and give public comment. They can send me an email. They can shoot me a snail mail letter if they want to. We have a PO box. I pick it up and I can read that as public comment if they'd like me to.
Okay,
I can do multiple ways.
I will let.
Yeah, I don't think we want them messing up the agenda on our SILC meetings, but I will have them email and
yep,
and we will send you lots of emails.
Yes, we will.
I'll have them do that because go ahead. I'm sorry.
And again, I just want to state again, this is coming from ACL. It's not us.
I know.
Okay. I just want to make that clear. And God bless both of you for all you do.
Well, thank you, Julie.
Yeah, Dee Dee, this is Ace. So Don, I just want to clarify. So tomorrow we can revisit some of this when we're talking about the finances to see if we can, are we thinking of, I'm trying to think of how.
Yeah, so this is Dawn Lyons. Ace,
I know it gets put into our spill, but then, you know, that's it's our new 3-year spill. And then anything that the data collection and stuff that we need from Dee Dee, like you're saying, I mean.
So I can explain it during the agenda item when we talk about the spill again a little bit better. I don't want to get too in depth right now because this is RCIL's report, but I do want to say, Ace, yes, it's an exception to the rule because normally we wouldn't be able to change anything in our spill so drastically right before we
Right.
it after having town halls, but the town halls data actually does support this. So it is
Okay.
something that we actually could address it
Okay,
when we talk.
great. I just wanted that clarification for tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any more questions for Didi?
Julie, this is Dawn Lyons. I still don't see Lisa, and I know Mary will be here tomorrow at our meeting, so maybe we can revisit those reports tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I was good. But it's Didi's report complete. That's what I was asking.
Dee Dee's talking, but she's muted.
I'm sorry, Julie, to take up all the time. I'll shut up at this point.
Oh no. Okay. And then Cheyenne's not here either. So that's gonna have to go on tomorrow's agenda as well. Are there any updates from people that went to report events or conferences lately?
So Julie, this is Dawn Lyons. I think the next on the list is the Nevada State Rehab Council update. And I can give that report if you want. It's a really quick, it's an informal report here. But when I
I totally do not see it.
Sorry.
I apologize. I did not see it.
Oh, that's okay.
Go ahead.
I real quick, Obioma is returning tomorrow, and she had to leave real quick. So I just wanted to say she mentioned that in the chat. But as far as the Nevada State Rehab Council goes, I'm not sure if everybody is aware, but I have been appointed by the governor as the SILC representative on the Nevada State Rehab Council since Raquel has retired from SILC. And at the last meeting that I went to, they went over some of the reporting that they've been doing, and they've had some audits done and some corrective actions that they've had to take regarding the Rehab Services Administration, or RSA. And they have those reports posted publicly, but if you're interested in learning the details of those, I can certainly give you the link to read them yourself. They're lengthy, but they were very informative. And it sounded like Voc Rehab is really doing everything in their power to improve their services, to improve their the state of their employees and how they're functioning. And I see in a lot of ways how they're really working hard at trying to make those improvements. And in all this at the same time, they're really heavily involved in the Nevada TRIP program, which Jennifer has given us reports on, and that we're also partners with. And so I can appreciate that Voc Rehab is really knuckling down, and I have been impressed personally by the work that they've been doing since I don't know, over the last year or so at least, and they're really making some visible improvements. But that was the majority of what their meeting was going over, were their corrective actions that they've taken, and where they still need to improve, and what they've done to evaluate themselves even. And so I found it really, like I said, it's very lengthy, it's very technical, but I found it really interesting. I guess I'm a little bit of a nerd that way. I like reading those reports. I get the information out of the reports. So if you'd like to read those yourselves, just let me know and I can send you the link to those. It should be on their website, but if not, I can get them for you as well. But that's it. That's all I had to report on. I have been letting them know where we're at with, we're in the process of developing our spill and submitting it for the next 3 years. And I let them know that. So I just gave them a basic update on what SILC's up to.
Okay. There is
So, I guess since you said we'd touch on the ADSD updates tomorrow when Cheyenne is here, that maybe we could go on to the updates and discussion regarding the takeaways from conferences attended by
that's where
and information regarding upcoming events, right?
that's where I was going.
Okay.
Where I just didn't see that. Otherwise, I apologize. Are there any updates from people that went to conferences or events?
So since January, this is Dawn Lyons again. Since January, we had, I believe, 2 people attend SILC Congress. Or I'm sorry, I guess we met last in April. So those people reported on SILC Congress. Sorry, I got a meeting behind in my head for a minute there. Since SILC Congress, there really hasn't been a major conference except for I attended the NDRN conference for the PAMI Council or as a representative of the PAMI Council. And I learned quite a bit about the PAMI Council. I don't know if you guys know what it is, but the PAMI Council is an advisory council under the Nevada Disability Advocacy and Law Center. And they advise the NDALC about mental health. You know what? I'm going to ask Catherine Nielsen to actually join me here since she's here. If you can, Catherine, I bet you can explain this much better than me since you're so involved.
Absolutely. This is Catherine Nielsen for the record. So the PAMI Council, like she stated, is housed within the Nevada Disability Advocacy and Law Center, and it stands for Protection and Advocacy for Individuals with Mental Illness. It was actually established with the Mental Illness Act of 1986. And what they do is take a look at both institutional and community settings. And we help kind of advise on investigations and allegations of abuse, neglect, and then any rights violations for people with mental illness in the state of Nevada. And so a lot of that is advisory to what the agency does overall. A lot of what the individuals on the PAMI Council are like in their background, they're either individuals themselves that may have a personal interest in mental illness. We have professionals that work in the mental illness fields in various settings. And so Dawn's one of our newer members, but we have, I think, Dawn, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have about 6 members right now on that. So if anyone's interested, I don't mean to throw a plug out there, but if anyone's interested, we do have an opening.
Thank you, Catherine. I knew you could explain that better than me. I also wanted to say I am one of the newer members, so I learned a lot about it at that conference, and it's the Nevada Disability Rights Network conference, is NDRN, what that stands for. And I also met with Kate Oste one-on-one to, not at the conference, but after the conference, because she's the new executive director at the Nevada Disability Advocacy and Law Center. And we had a great conversation, and she's really excited about our partnership and moving forward with the disability community and how we partner together. So I'm excited to be a part of that group, and I'm excited to be representative of SILC as well. And if anybody's interested in learning more, just get in touch with me and I can talk to you more about it on a one-on-one basis. But that's the only conference that has happened since then that I know of. If I'm wrong, correct me. Anyone speak up if they've been to one that I forgot about. I didn't think so. Okay, but we do have Nickel coming up. So the National Council for Independent Living is going to be in just a couple weeks. I'm going to attend that, and Dee Dee is going to attend that. Something I forgot to mention earlier during our membership discussion was that our youth outreach specialist was going to go, but she is no longer with us. And I can explain that at our next meeting a little bit better because I forgot to during that agenda item. But regardless, we're in the recruitment process again, and I plan on putting out that recruitment flyer without a specific date this time, because I think we really need to be very discerning about who we're hiring this time around to make sure that we're really going to be able to hold someone who's interested, who is qualified, who can do the job, you know, that we need them to do, because it's such an important job for us. And it's important to us. The Youth Outreach Council is important to us. The youth presence is important to us as a council. So we want to make sure we're focused on the right things, and we're taking a different kind of approach this time because of the last two that we have not been able to maintain. So anyway, on a positive note, Dee Dee and I are going to Nickel, and we will bring that information back to you about that in October. We're really excited. It seems like the new executive director of Nickel is really on the ball. You know, they're taking a lot of things into consideration, including there's a lot going on Capitol Hill right now, a lot with the different wars around the world, and you know, visitations from, you know, Netanyahu and the others and everything that's happening. They're taking all of that into consideration about our disability community's safety. And so I appreciate that they're taking those extra precautions and extra steps to ensure that. And I think it's going to be a really good conference this year, and I'm looking forward to all the things that we're going to be able to take away from that. Also, Dee Dee and I are going to Tonopah next week for the Nye County Social Services Fair. And we're hoping to do some outreach in Tonopah, because that, you know, over the last couple of years, I've been able to go to the one in Pahrump, but I haven't been able to make the one in Tonopah. So excited to go to that area this time and do some outreach.
Yay, Tonopah.
The other upcoming conferences, one of them I actually asked Evander if he would mind going to. It's called the Real Talk Youth Impact Program, and it's on Tuesday, July 23rd from 9 to 12 on Jones Boulevard in Las Vegas. If anyone else is interested in going to that and representing SILC and doing some outreach there, especially for a youth outreach specialist position, I'm really hoping we can get some, make some connections at that. But if you're interested, give me, get in touch with me and I'll give you the information. I did post the flyer as a material, so if you need more information, you can look at that. But this was something that I received the invitation for, and it just sounds amazing. It sounds like it's a networking conference. So I really think that it's an opportunity that we can't afford not to go to. But I'll be at Nichols, so Evander said that he could go, but he's hoping that he won't be the only one from SILC. So reach out to me if you're interested. And then of course there's April, the April Rural Conference in October. It's always funny when we say April's in October. But well, at least funny to me, maybe I'm corny. But if this is one of those conferences that every year, because it falls on a new federal fiscal year, we have a brand new GSA rate. And so sorry, Peter, I thought you were trying to say something. Because it falls in October and that's when our new GSA rates come out, we can't actually arrange any travel until the beginning of October. But if you're interested, please let me know, because we can probably register early if you're interested in going to that. And that's this year it is.
I definitely want to go.
You definitely want to go, Dee Dee?
no doubt about it. And I may have a few youth who are interested in going from my area.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely talk about reimbursing any youth outreach council members. So it's going to be October 11th through the 13th, with the 11th being the pre-conference along with the youth conference, which is typically how they do it, is the youth conference and the pre-conference at the same day. But if you're youth, you go to the youth conference, and if you're not, then you go to the pre-conference. So we would probably have to travel on the 10th. And so that usually is our second day of our October SILC meeting. So when we get to that agenda item tomorrow about our next SILC meeting, I have a proposal that we change our regular dates, but keep that in mind so you can look at your calendars and kind of see when your availability is. And so we can talk about that tomorrow. But those are the conferences coming up. And if anybody's interested in them, please let me know. And Julie, Jennifer's not here today. So I can give like a general update on the trip program if you want.
Yeah, and then with the comment.
Oh yeah, it's already 3:42. Okay. Well, I probably won't take that long. We could do both of the updates.
Yeah,
We could
that's
just
what
go
I'm
right into
saying.
both of
Do
them.
that.
Okay,
And
so
then,
the trip program is coming along. We finally got approval on our grant from the Department of Education. Now we're working on grant revisions, mainly because we haven't had any expenditures because our youth outreach specialist hasn't really been there. So we're working on those. And the good thing is that this initial grant award they did for the first 2 years instead of just the first year because of where it fell at the end of the state fiscal year. And so they anticipated that as soon as we got done with the first approval, that we would already have to start working on the second year. So they wrap both first years into one award. So that's really helpful. We can just do a revision and be ready for the next year as well. So that's something I'm working on with Jennifer Kane behind the scenes and Ashley Price from the Department of Education, Office of Inclusive Education. And then the Voc Rehab has been really making progress on their Nevada Trip website and app. And it's really interesting if you want to check out the placeholder, so to speak. I can send out what I'll do is I will post that as a material and I'll blast that out in an email to all interested parties and the SILC members. The link to that because I don't have it handy right now. But I will definitely, you should check it out and I'll get that out to you. It's really amazing how it looks and how they're also getting ready to start their advisory committee, and there's a whole onboarding and training for that. And they're rolling that information out very soon now as well. And so our first advisory committee meeting will be coming up fairly quickly. And those of you who were interested have already reached out or they've reached out to you, and so you know who you are. And then the updates regarding the Nevada Governor's Council on Developmental Disabilities Transition Grant to Nevada SILC. Basically, we haven't had a youth outreach specialist that we've been able to accomplish any of the goals. So the DD Council basically had to reroute that funding. And so they just took the grant back. So it's not a big deal. They use it for other things and we haven't been able to. So, makes sense to me. And that's all I really had. So it's 3:45 and I guess Julie, we're done with the updates that we are able to give unless anyone has questions about those. No questions? Okay, so I guess that's all we can do for today for updates, Julie.
can you read the the animal.
I will. Okay. Okay, this. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under public comment period unless the matter itself has been specifically included as an agenda, on the agenda as an action item. To provide public comment held telephonically, dial 1-253-215-8782 US Tacoma. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 929-904-1434 and passcode 707401. Comments will be allowed at the beginning and end of each day and will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Persons making comments will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name and provide the secretary with written comments.
Any public comment?
Dawn, this is Peter. I have a public comment.
You mean Julie? Yes, go, Julie.
This is Peter Whittingham, and this is a public comment. And my comment, Julie, is related to the election process earlier on in the agenda for vacant positions on the council. And I will say for the record that my profound respect and admiration for the chair prevents me from commenting on her categorization of comments made earlier. Suffice it to say that as an organization that is governed by rules and regulations, I noted that the executive director indicated that she is going to secure or maybe obtain some comments or feedback from the DAG regarding that process. Based upon the rules and charter that govern this council, in addition to anything else that the DAG comments on, I think it would be informative for us as a council for this and for subsequent voting process for the DAG to comment on the appropriateness and or compliance with the rules for the executive director, a non-voting member, to have nominated a member to the board. And I noted also that the executive director did, in fact, indicated that she might have mistaken or misspoken in her nomination, and she should have perhaps indicated that she was attempting to nominate an existing member or secure votes for an existing member. But the question is whether or not those comments had already poisoned the well and perhaps even compromise the election process. And so it would be informative for me as a member, and I suspect for others as well, if the DAG were to take a good look in terms of the role that the executive director is can appropriately play in the selection of or the election of members, and specifically in this case, whether or not her nomination, in spite of her apologies later, were sufficiently so damaging that it could have well compromised the election process.
Peter, this is Dawn Lyons. Actually, the executive director is typically the one who holds the elections and facilitates them because they're not allowed to be nominated. Anybody in the council is allowed to make a nomination. And I'm just trying to clear up some of your questions in there. And even though I felt like I misspoke, technically I can make a nomination. It doesn't really matter who makes the nomination. I just advised at the last meeting that you contact the person who you're nominating to make sure they're in agreement that you nominate them is all. But I did actually, and I'm going to share this with the group as a public comment. I sent an email to the DAG during our break, and I'm going to read it to you so that you know that I sufficiently addressed your questions. It says, hello, SILC held our annual elections today virtually during our meeting, and a question came up that I felt the need to get clarification on from you. When we have more than one nominee and voting members prefer to vote anonymously, is it mandatory to read all votes allowed along with who the person is who voted? Or can we just simply read how many votes there were for each nominee? Also, in the past, I have been informed that the nominee does not need to be present for the group to take a vote, as long as the person nominated agrees to it in advance. Is it a violation of open meeting law to get their acceptance of the nomination prior to the meeting if they know they cannot be there that day? In other words, does the nominee have to be on public record stating that they accept the nomination in order for the valid vote to take place? Thank you so much for your assistance. I'm still waiting for a response. When I get a response, I will inform the council and I will read it verbatim. Does that sound good?
Dawn, if I may, just to add to that, the specific question, and again, I feel very uncomfortable doing this because it seems, and even to me, that as a person who is involved, I'm advocating for myself. I can remove myself from the process for clarity. The issue for me as a member is just whether or not the process as conducted is consistent with the charter bylaws of the council. And what perhaps may have been left out of your email, because I just brought it up, is the specific question as to whether or not the executive director, knowing his or her role and different authority and position from members of the voting body, can she or he nominate a member of the board? And whether or not it was done mistakenly is, in this case, is the process as was this morning, is it sufficiently damaged and the well is sufficiently poisoned that may have compromised the election process, specifically as it relates to the vice chair? Those are specific questions I would like to have the DAG answer in those fashions, in spite of your interpretation.
I'll tell you what, Peter, since that wasn't something that came up earlier and didn't get into my email, I will email you the DAG's email so that you can ask them yourself. How's that?
I would hope that the chair can jump in here, because again, this is not about me, and I would like for some objective guidance.
Don't just do this. Peter, could you email me the list of your concerns, and I will forward them to you? The deck. How's that for a compromise?
I don't.
This is Peter. Julie, I appreciate that, and I will.
Okay.
This is Dee Dee Master for the record, as long as we're discussing this.
We're not hold on. Wait a second. This is public comment. It is not a discussion. Everyone has 3 minutes to say what they want. But this is not a discussion.
This is Dawn Lyons. Just for the record, the DAG has informed me in the past that although it's a public comment, we can answer questions and it's not considered a discussion as long as it doesn't go into depth. But if you have something to say about it, you can want to make your own public comment about it, you are welcome to do so. I just wanted to be clear.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
I just want to ask a quick question. Did you guys get my vote okay? Because I was kind of driving and there was a lot of interference. So I do want you to know that if by chance you didn't get my verbal vote, which is what I had to do because I was driving, I just want you to know that I did vote for Peter because there was so much, craziness. I was trying to get on the freeway at the same time.
I did,
So,
Dee Dee, I did receive your vote.
okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
I did receive it and I noted it when I delivered the responses.
Any other public comment? I'm gonna end on a positive note. I want to thank everyone for their votes. It's been a very hectic but good year. We've gotten a lot accomplished, and I look forward to the year to come. Thank you all for your hard work and efforts on the council.
Thank you, Julie.
And there's no other comment. I declare this meeting adjourned.